So by a show of hands, how many of y'all have gotten a call that's kind of changed your life or kind of put you in shock just a little bit and kind of thrown you out of whack? Show of hands. Pretty good amount. Okay, I got one of those calls this past Monday. So my wonderful girlfriend Shelby, sitting over here, was in a pretty terrible car accident. She was hit by a guy going 70. They were slowing down, going about 45, and just got smoked going from behind. So I had just finished up Young Life, gonna go get some Brahms with the Young Life guys, real excited, real happy, get this phone call. I was like, hey! And Shelby was in tears and just so scared. And I remember it stopped me right in my tracks that instant and kind of just made me think, holy cow. My world kind of came spinning to a halt, got in the car, and sped on my way over there. Had to park behind the fire trucks about 100 yards out. I'm not a runner, and so I sprinted all the way up there. These policemen are kind of staring at me as I'm going like, who's this crazy guy? And thankfully, they turned out to be okay, her and one of her friends. What happened was the guy was texting and driving. So by another show of hands, how many of y'all have seen the commercials about please don't text and drive, AT&T, one of the little thumb bands, anybody out there? Okay, now how many of us still text and drive, if we're being honest? This is a safe place. So pretty much everybody, including myself. So what's the reason behind that? I mean, we see these things are horrible. People die. Thankfully, Shelby was spared, but people get killed from that. And we see commercials. AT&T probably spends millions and millions of dollars on these advertisements. So why don't we listen? I think it's because it's not a part of our greater brand. You see, I think as individuals, we each have a brand that we represent, whether we know it or not. For some of us, that is utmost safety. For some of us, it is not. And so we choose to honor the things in our brand, like quick communication or checking our Instagram likes. Anything like that is more important than seeing, man, are these people around me going to be safe? So I'm here to talk to y'all tonight just about the brand of you, what that is, how you unpack that a little bit, and how you can alter that for your greater good. So in your brand, you have a vast variety of things, and it comes from a vast variety of areas. It can include the things that you wear, the places that you shop, the people that you hang out with, your interests, your calling, what you're here studying for. That kind of connotates who you are, whether you realize that or not. And in that, you have the ability to make a decision to kind of root in deep in that, or kind of just go with whatever the wind. You see, a story I thought about this, sorry, I had to check my notes. A story I thought about this is, how many of y'all in high school remember kids that were considered emo? Wore a lot of black, a little bit of eyeliner, you're like, what was this guy? I'm a little scared. So emo, by definition, is someone who wants to be independent of going the way that everyone else is, wants to do their own thing. And the funny thing is, by doing that, they end up in a pretty large group themselves. You really never see one, you always see 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. So even by trying to not belong, you end up having a brand. So it's something that's built within inside of us. And as you read in the Psalms, the Lord uniquely kind of knitted us in our mother's womb. We each have unique desires, we each have unique giftings, unique passions, and that plays itself out. The cool thing about that is no two of us are the same. Y'all sitting next to each other each have different passions, different giftings. Even if you're in the same school, you may both be businessmen and be passionate about very different things. You may be both in ministry and be passionate about very different things. So the question to really think about when it comes to that is why? Why do you do what you do? Why have you chosen to be educated where you have and for what you have? Why have you chosen business? Why have you chosen political science? Why have you chosen ministry? And I think that's fundamentally at the root of everything we do. I think understanding that helps us move forward with such direction. But I think it's a question we don't ask ourselves enough. I think if someone asked, hey, Johnny, why would you want to be in business? More often than not, I would say, because I want to go and be successful and make money and have an impact. But that's shallow. That's 2-3 inches deep. So my challenge to you tonight, we'll have a little moment of silence. Just take a minute to think, why do you do what you do? Why are you involved in SGA? Why did you come to DBU? Why did you choose to study with a Christian education? So I'll let you guys think about that for a couple seconds. Awesome. So once you understand the why, then you can go and figure out the what. Something that I think a lot of people do, and a guy I really respect who writes a lot about marketing talks about a lot of people put their what before their why. Instead of saying, I'm passionate about business because I feel these different callings, they say, I'm a businessman and so I'm going to go do this. I think it's one thing we do very well here at DBU. We don't say, we're a university, we're a university, we're a university. We say we're here to develop Christian servant leaders to impact the kingdom, and we do that through the integration of faith and learning. You have your why and your what. People buy your why. People want to know your why. Everyone has what's. We're all in college. A lot of us have different interests, and we share a lot of these different what's. Our why is what makes us special. And so figuring that out gives us the ability to differentiate ourselves. You see, I think a lot of times it's not about being better. It's about making yourself seem different. And so that's what you do in figuring out your whys. Kind of an example of this, and one of my good friends, Logan Thompson, he's sitting over there. There's a lot of people, we're at DBU, and so there's a lot of people who would say, who's interested here in missions? A lot of hands would go up. Okay, why? Oh, well, I just feel the call to go to Africa. I feel the call to go somewhere else. That's great. Awesome. I don't hate on that at all. I've lived with Logan for 4 years. Ever since we came up to DBU, people have asked, Logan, after getting your education, what do you want to do? He says, I feel the call to go to England, one of the largest industrial countries in the world that has the lowest percentage of Christians, the greatest marginalization of Christianity. Started out, and that's why we're here as a Christian nation today, is because of England, and they've shifted. And so he understands his why, and that drives his what. So that's once again, my challenge to you today is understanding that why fuels your what. So what does this look like fleshed out? So I think you need to take time to sit down and craft your brand. I would encourage each and every one of you tonight to go down and write out your why. Why do I do what I do? And just take time to understand what that is. You need a brand statement. In marketing, you have to have a brand statement, and I think individually we have to have a brand statement as well. It's something that gives us our course, it's something that brings us back in, and it's something that allows us to align ourselves with where we want to go. So for me, my brand statement goes as follows. I, Jonny Cantwell, know that the Lord has given me a passion for people, a curiosity of psychology and human behavioral decisions. I have a natural gifting to create ideas that appeal to the needs of people. These concepts directly correlate with business marketing. I hope to use this avenue to enrich the lives of others through valuable, honest advertising, appealing to the longings we all feel within. If the Lord allows me to be financially successful, may I use my talents to create an economic engine for the kingdom that drives kingdom work, for the resources are a blessing and not my own. So each one of you has that kind of crafted into your heart. So my encouragement would be, go write that out. See what that is, and take 15, 20 minutes just to understand why. I think it's an interesting thing to really understand, here's why I engage with people. Here's why I talk the way I do. Here's why I'm committed to the activities that I am. Here's why I chose DBU. It allows you to see at a deeper root who you really are and how the Lord has created you. So I think step 2 after that, you must begin aligning things with the greater goals of your why. So once you understand fundamentally what it is, you begin to bring things into place that fuel you towards your end goal. So for me, that was business. I knew I wanted to be in business, figured this all out, kind of wrote it down, and then I thought to myself, I'm in the city of Dallas. We have some of the greatest business minds in the country right at our fingertips, 30, 20 minutes away. So I'm going to start reaching out to these people. I'm going to start writing them letters, reading their books, and seeing if they're willing just to spend an hour giving wisdom to me. And that's another thing I would encourage each and every one of you. Find someone that you respect in your calling, someone that's older, someone that's wiser, and write them a handwritten letter. It's something that people have forgotten how to do. Everyone can email, everyone can text, everyone can write Facebook messages. People do not write handwritten letters anymore. If you do that, you will stand out. So I had greater success with this than I ever thought. I had a handful of guys call me and say, hey, Jonny, we'd love to spend some time with you. Come into our office, and they would just sit down, and I would just have the ability to ask them questions. Why they do what they do. What is their brand? What's their understanding of their field? You see, and through this, I thought it was important to go about it in a way that didn't ask for their stuff. I don't want what they have to offer. I don't want a job. I don't want their money. I don't want any of their resources. I just want their wisdom. And I would encourage the same of each and every one of you. You see, when you go after people's stuff, they get defensive. Everybody wants your stuff. They go after it. They want to take it, especially if they're in a position of authority. They get calls day in and day out of people that want their stuff. Very few and very rare is it that people ask for their internal, ask for their why, ask for their wisdom. So as you go about and do this later tonight, write down your brand, write down your why. Pick people that you're interested in and seek their wisdom. Because people more often than not want to share what they've learned. They want to share the ways that the Lord has worked in their life. And if they're a non-believer, want to share the things they've experienced along the way. They experience and feel the same things. And the crazy thing is, more often than not, they'll want to help you in the long run. And so if you approach them for their wisdom, they'll want to go above and beyond to find you a job and find you opportunities because you approach them in humility. So that's the second thing. Begin aligning yourself with different things. Another example of this for me was I began wearing a lot of suits. I worked in admissions and I started wearing suits all the time. And people would ask me, they're like, Johnny, why do you wear suits? You work as a bus driver. Like, well, I want to be a businessman. I'm studying business. Businessmen wear suits. I should begin doing that as well. If I start building up now, hopefully I'll have enough so I'll look pretty fly when I'm older, so going with that. And step number 3, I would say the importance of communication and actions that reflect your brand statement. So once you've figured out who you are, once you begin aligning things with that, I think the way in which you go about communicating that and your actions are very important as well. An example of this that I think is fraud is McDonald's trying to sell us healthy food. We all know McDonald's gives us hamburgers and fries. They don't give us salads and anything good. And so people see that and say, I don't want that. That's not in their brand. And whether you realize it or not, you realize there's a disconnect between the two. So as you go forth in understanding who you are, begin to communicate in a way and act in a way that corresponds with that. And kind of in closing, I hope if y'all have heard anything, you hear this. Each one of you here has a unique gifting and a unique wiring from the Lord. It's our job to figure that out and our job to use that. So I pray that you would challenge yourself. I pray that you would dig 2, 3, 4 levels deep. Just begin to ask yourself why you do the things you do, and just continue asking that until you figure it out. I think, especially here at DBU, we know we've been called for a kingdom cause. We have this ability to see, okay, I'm not just in business, but business has the ability to have kingdom impact. Or I'm not a teacher, I have the ability to change the lives of students. Or I'm in politics, I can shape culture for the kingdom, as they just talked about. And so we see the greater good in all things. So know that there's somewhat of an urgency in understanding your wiring. For the Lord created you especially to fit in the machine that is Christianity as a member of the body. So I challenge you in that, and as you grow in that, remain focused. Cassidy's dad actually wrote a book called Power Branding, in which he talks about a brand is like a beam of light. The more focused it is, the brighter it shines. So I challenge you in that, and thank you for letting me speak with you tonight.